Hi, good evening all. Welcome to this Map Talk on a Wednesday evening as usual. I want to introduce today our speaker for the session. Her name is Heather King. Heather is based in the UK and she's a Map for Life Mastery Associate. She's an accredited Map for Life coach as well as a trainer, having completed an accreditation course. And Heather is passionate about changing lives. And she has a huge influence in her own family. She's married, she has children, she has grandchildren, and she's currently working in the financial sector in the UK. But her passion is really changing people's lives. So I really look forward to the talk tonight. And please, I would ask the audience to engage and really to take in what Heather has to say to us. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Heather.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from tonight. My topic is wake up. Wake up. Why are you asleep? Why are you lazy? What are you waiting for? Who are you waiting for? Why are you waiting? What do you want? What do you really want out of life? I suggest you get a pen and a piece of paper and you start making a list of what you really want. You could start by writing 10 items, but I urge you to take the list up to 100 items. Why? When you start making a list about what you really want, it's the generic things, it's the me things, it's the material things, that 4-bedroom house, the car, the Mercedes, the Lamborghini, the trips you want to take. Then when you start getting to 13, 14, 15, 16, your list starts to get more value. Now you want to learn another language. You want to have piano lessons. You want to visit specific places to see specific things. But if you continue with that list, and the longer the list becomes, the less it becomes about you. So when you ask yourself, what do I really want? Pen, paper, start making that list, because I guarantee you that once you start getting to 26, 27, you start seeing value in better things. You start seeing value in life. You start valuing other people, and your focus shifts from the me, the I, to others. Wake up. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no need for you to be sluggish, for you to be waiting for some major event. You are well. Trust me, you are well. Go look at yourself in the mirror. You are well. You know the thing about waking up, there's that great awakening. There's that awareness of the surroundings. There's that awareness of other people. And when you wake up and you start becoming aware, you start acting. You must act in order to wake up. Do something. Do something now. And if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, sit and say to yourself, what one thing can I do right now that will wake me up? You know, when you start waking up, you start kindling that little bit of a fire in you. You start with a little flame. And when you kindle that little flame and you start gaining knowledge and you start learning from others and your experience grows, that's putting wood onto the fire. You no longer have a flame. You have a roaring blaze inside you. So wake up. Do that gratitude list. It's amazing how that gratitude list keeps that fire going from day to day. You know, when you wake up, you get excited. Oh man, you wake up in the morning and you think, yes, I have another day. You don't lie there and you start thinking, oh, do I have to wake up? It's too cold. It's too hot. That job again. You know, when you start waking up, you're so excited. You're filled with energy. And you know, when you're excited, guess what happens to the people around you? They all get excited. I mean, picture this. The whole family is sitting and watching a movie. It just takes one of you to get up and say, let's do something different. And everybody starts getting curious, like, okay, what is she up to? What is he up to? What are they doing now? And that curiosity sparks excitement in them. And they start tuning in. They want to know what is going on. You know, when you get excited, your energy levels, they rise. I used to follow Bob Proctor, and he always spoke about energy frequencies. Are you on a low frequency? Are you on a high frequency? And you know, when you're excited and you're full of energy, guess where your frequency is? It's way up there. And you know what's happening? All the people low down below you, they're looking up and they're thinking, hey, I want some of that. So you've got to wake up. Remember, you are well enough to wake up. You got to become more aware. Kindle that fire in you. Get excited. You know, it only takes one person to do something, and you can infect a whole room. Don't be that bad apple in a pocket of good apples. Be that good apple that's shining. Do you know why you've got to wake up? You are unique. You were created specially. Glenn McQuirk always says that you have got something that the world cannot do without. You know, think about it. Whose validation are you seeking? Think about that seriously. Whose validation are you seeking? Remember that you are influenced by the people that you hang around with the most, the people that are in your immediate circle. Remember that the people in your immediate circle might not always be in your corner. And you are special. You deserve to be around special people. Don't go with the flow. Be unique. Stand out. Don't do what everybody's doing. Remember, narrow is the gate. If everybody's doing it, stop. Ask yourself, are we doing the right thing? You are unique. You are special. And you know, when you wake up and you become more aware and you start acting and you kindle that spirit within you and you get excited and you raise your energy levels and you realize just how unique you are and what you have to offer, guess what happens? You start finding your purpose. And you start realizing why you were put on this earth. And you start doing all the things within your purpose. You shine in your service to others. So wake up. Follow your purpose. The time is now. And if you're making notes, remember, W is your wellness. You are well. A is for awareness. It's for action. K is for kindle, for lightening that spirit within you. E is get excited, raise your energy levels. You are unique. And P, you have a purpose. So if you've been listening to this very brief talk today and you're thinking, I'm a bit lost. Where do I start? Where do I go? Well, at Map for Life, we have a team of people that are ready to help you. We have the tools that can equip you with determining where you are right now, whether you're lying in bed, whether you're lying on the couch watching TV, your position. We will help you determine where you are right now. We have tools that will help you know where your destination is, know where you want to go in life, know what you want to achieve. And we have tools that will help you create a plan and a way in which to get there. So I urge you to get back to the person that's invited you on this call this evening, brief as it may be, and ask them to show you these tools that you can use to wake up that spirit within you. Thank you for listening. And now I'm going to hand you over to the panel.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for that inspiring talk on Wake Up. There's so much that we can take away from that talk, and I'm looking forward right now to actually engage with the panel and to dig a little deeper. But you've given us so many practical tools and tips as to wake up. In fact, if I've got to give it, you've given us a wake up call. To begin living life meaningfully and deliberately, and really taking action. So really thank you for that. And I now look forward to discussing it in more detail with the panel, whom I'm going to introduce shortly. All right, there we have Amelia. Hi, Amelia. Marvin. Thanks for joining us, and Ngwati. And there's the panel. Guys, you all listened to the call, and I'm sure you're excited as I am to enter into some more depth in terms of what Heather has shared with us. Can I ask that before we do that, we just give a brief introduction of who we are, where we're from, and then we'll get into the discussion. And I'm going to go ladies first. So Amelia, can I ask you to go off, and then Ngwati and Marvin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terence. Good evening, everybody. Yes, it was an absolutely stunning subject that Heather touched on tonight. I am Amelia Sequeira. I've been using the Map for Life tool for many years now. In fact, I actually started in 2010. And it is always remarkable for me to see that the individuals that I'm helping with this tool, the amazing difference that it makes in their lives, to basically just have a tool, a practical tool of where to start and take your life to the next level.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you. Ngwati, short introduction and comments.
Well, thank you very much for that. I am Ngwadi Mzamo. I'm from East London. I was introduced to Map for Life around about 2012 when I first met with Glenn here in East London. Although I wouldn't say that I've been really actively implementing it, but one thing I took out of Map for Life was really that's a good plan. Get out of that plan. The reason being, for instance, when I about 3 years ago, when I took through my niece, I took her through the Get Out of Debt plan. She managed, I think within 2 to 3 years, he came to me with the keys of a flat. So that's where I could see that the Map for Life and then the Get Out of Debt plan is a very good plan. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mbati. Yes, very practical tools that we can use to help us on life's journey. And the Get Out of Debt plan is the good plan, is one of those. Thank you. Thank you for that. Marvin, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marvin Hawkins. I'm a Map for Life user and I'm a Map for Life coach. I'm based in Pretoria. I've been using Map for Life since 2013, and it's changed my life ever since. It's helped me to wake up. Thanks.
Yeah, great. A wake-up call, as I said earlier. Thank you very much for that. Heather mentioned a few things. She mentioned the list of 100 things that you want to achieve, right? So 100 things that you want to either achieve or do. Has any one of you attempted to do 100 list? And if so, what was your experience in that?
Well, I think if I can go first, I haven't actually listed 100 things, but with the brainstorming session, when you establish where you are in life and what do you with all those exercises that you do, I have made quite extensive lists, but not necessarily with a purpose to have 100 items. But what it also reminded me of is almost the way that our lives progress as well. When you're young, you tend to, the first couple of years of your life, you tend to focus on yourself and the things that you want to get together and, all the material stuff. And then as you grow older, she mentioned that when you make your list, as you get to number 27 and 28, you start focusing more on other people. And I find it quite interesting that in my life, as the years progressed, it's almost like every year was an item. And as the years progressed, I actually started moving my shift away from me, myself, and I towards other people and the difference that a person wants to make in the world. I don't know, Marvin, it will be interesting as a youngster to hear your point of view on that.
Absolutely. Marvin?
I love being called a youngster. Thank you so much. I received that. I think I concur. I when I started out with Map for Life, it was all about me and myself and my family and how I can gain more. It was all about building my own dreams. I just started out in a new industry. I started out in a new company, and I soon realized about a year and a bit later on that, let me say, I soon was reminded that there's more to life than just you yourself, your family. And also, I actually found, in terms of me being involved and focusing on my stuff and my stuff alone, and being exposed to now from a coaching perspective, how there's so much more you can get out when you actually focus on more than just you. That was kind of the switch or the turning point for me, and that was, I think, an important lesson for me to learn. Fortunately, it was at a young age, and also that was also the time when we had our first child. So that also taught me about life is no longer about you anymore. There's another life in the picture. So that was, I think, added nicely to the turning point in my life.
Thanks, Marvin. Thank you. As Amelia said, and as you also added to that, Marvin, it is a progression, right? It is a progression. One will always or normally starts with the stuff that's important to you as an individual, and then your family, etc. And I believe there's nothing wrong with that. I think the risk is to stay there, and not progress beyond self. So yeah, I think it's important, and we should look after ourselves, because if we don't, then we're not very useful to others. Okay, so there's a certain amount of selfishness in what we do, but at the end of the day, it's really, as you both said, not about ourselves. It's about helping others out there. And Ngwati, you want to add anything to that, sir?
Yes. Apparently, when I was listening to the speaker this evening, when she was talking about this long list,
yes,
starting I think with yourself first, apparently it reminds me of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
yes,
because if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for instance, definitely you start from the physiological needs, which are immediate around you. And then as you satisfy those needs, for instance, starting, I think, from yourself, your wife, your children, your family, and then you extend. As you move higher up the ladder now, we are no longer focusing on you. Hence, you find that I would say that at the end of the day, you move towards the level of self-actualization, where I would equate it to the life of significance, because now you move away from self and your immediate loved ones, and you go to a broader circle of the community, up to the circle, if it's a province or a country, up to the international level. So which leads us to what we refer to in Map for Life as the life of significance. Thank you.
Thanks, Ngati. I think that's a very, very good analogy, and to link it up with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the life of significance, which is the self-actualization. Because again, if we're not fully in that stage, we're going to find it difficult to actually help others. Can I move on to Mirror, Mirror on the Wall? Who's the fairest of us all? Remember that one from Snow White, right? Heather mentioned, looking in the mirror, and that's another exercise that I do believe is a useful one. Is when we look in the mirror and we don't just adjust and see how many gray hairs we have, or making sure that everything is fine, our makeup is all good, but we look in the mirror and we as a self-examination exercise, right? And let me ask the question: when last have we, and I put the question to the panel, really looked in the mirror and said, who is this person? Who am I? I know it's a deep question, but let's just have some discussion around it. And maybe we can help the audience out there as well with some practical tips of looking in the mirror. And Marvin, can I start with you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Who am I? In our Map Cafe about 3 weeks ago, we embarked on the journey of actually writing out your bio. So write out and tell us who you are. Tell us a bit about your background, your history, where you are now, where you're heading to. Who are you? And it was very interesting to see that the team found it difficult to actually do that, just because I think we get used to just kind of living life as is, willy-nilly, and never realizing that the impact that we have, or the potential impact that we have, and also not really taking note of where we're involved and what we're doing and what significance or impact that has on others. When I did this exercise for the first time, about 4 years ago, I actually sat with Glenn to help me to because I was invited to do a speech at my previous high school. And it was a great eye-opening exercise for me, because I actually realized, wow, in my short space of being in work and being on this earth, I've actually accomplished quite a bit more than I actually really thought about. And when I added in what I was doing from a coaching perspective and how that was kind of trickling over to other people's lives, it made me soon realize that there's so much more that I can do, so much more in me that I can give. And it's just a matter of being a bit more focused, a bit more dedicated. And that, I think, for me, opened my eyes again to saying, okay, let's kind of repaint this picture of me. And let's paint it in the way I want to see it, where it's having bigger impact, a wider impact. So that's what I'll say for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Marvin. I love the way you say, let me paint this picture of me, because you're actually putting yourself out there and you're saying, you know, what or who does this me look like? So you're separating, in a sense, yourself from yourself, really. Thanks for that. Ngwati, any thoughts on looking in the mirror and examining and asking those questions that Heather suggested we ask?
Yes, thank you. Terence, I think it's very important. What I would, for instance, if I could encourage people to do some sort of a self-examination.
Okay.
Because the mirror is where you can do self-examination, because the mirror doesn't lie to you. It reflects exactly what is in front of it. So, which is, I think, from there, that is the physical structure you're looking at. You can go deeper now, asking deeper questions. Who am I? What is the purpose of my life? What am I supposed to be doing whilst on earth? What sort of a legacy do I want to leave when I depart faithfully? So hence I'm saying that the mirror, it's one instrument which will never lie to you. But what is very interesting, you look at the mirror and then you look also at your mind, because 1 minute your back is at the mirror, immediately you don't realize how did you look like. That's the challenge of a mirror, meaning that a mirror, it's something which we should always keep in front of us so that it can keep us on check. Because the moment you lose your focus from the mirror, you forget. For instance, if somebody can say that, okay, after I've looked at the mirror, say that, Ngwadi, no, we haven't shaved this morning. Although I've shaved this morning, but I will jump and then look again at the mirror because I'm not sure and all that. So meaning that in life, this is what is happening, I think, to us. Sometimes there are certain things we have done, but these issues or whatever steps were taken, they are not sinking into our mind, so that at the end of the day, you can do some sort of a self-evaluation. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I love those two points you made. The one that the mirror doesn't lie, and that we should start off with the physical, and then get deeper. But the fact that the mirror doesn't lie, I guess what you're also implying is that who we are is who we are. You know, we can't fool ourselves as well. We could, but really, who we are remains fundamentally who we are. And the other one is, it's so true. You turn from the mirror and everything is fine, right? You've had a look in the mirror, you like what you see, and you forget about it. And what you're suggesting is carry that mirror with you, and you know, look at it as often as you need to. Thanks for that. And what you, Amelia, mirror.
You know, Terence, I was actually thinking of two interesting things that I went through. The first one was in the beginning of my career. That was when I was in my 20s. And I was at a motivational speaker presentation, and I landed in a situation where he called me on the stage and he asked other people to describe what they see. And what other people actually said there made me start seeing myself in a different way. So that was the one thing, that the mirror, sometimes when you look at what other people say about you, that is also a very important mirror. And then the next very interesting experience I went through was when I climbed out of the corporate world at the beginning of the pandemic, when suddenly my career, unexpectedly, because of the pandemic, I suddenly climbed out of the corporate world, and I suddenly found myself going through a period where I wasn't quite sure who I was outside of the corporate world, because my entire life I was part of the rat race, being very busy, etc., etc. So both those experiences, when we spoke about the mirror tonight, both of that reminded me of that period where other people's opinions and etc. of me was also an important mirror looking at, but yeah,
Excellent.
it's important. It's important to do those things.
Excellent. I love that comment that you say, what other people think about us. I was listening to a talk recently which spoke about the blind spots that we have in our lives. And the only way we can actually be open to those blind spots is if others can share with us what they see in us. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's tough. It's tough to accept what's being said about you if it's not as good and it's not in line with what you're thinking. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Can I maybe add a slight twist to that, if I may?
Sure.
I think it's excellent that we got to look at the mirror as often as we can, but I think it also depends on which mirror.
Okay.
The mirror, when you're driving, keeps your focus on what's happening behind instead of what's happening ahead. And I would like to just say that be careful that you don't look at the mirror in the wrong way too long. Don't look at the rear-facing mirror, but look at the mirror in front of you to see where you are now, who you are now.
Yeah.
And let that be your starting point. And then, like I was saying, paint a picture of what the new you should be, the new picture you want to see should be. And I really like what Amelia was saying, in that look at the people around you and hear the feedback that they give you. If the feedback is aligned with the new you, then you know you're on track. And if it's not, then you know that's also that's still either way great feedback. Another gentleman I was listening to spoke a little bit about how important it is to be aware of feedback that happens around you. And if you look at stuff that happens around you, it is a form of feedback to guide you to say you're either on track or you're off track.
Sure.
And it's great that we can get that feedback from the people around us, those that are closest to us, but also those that are not as fond of us, because they also give you a different type of feedback that might not necessarily be nice to hear, but it's still feedback. And feedback is a choice in terms of how you're going to take it and what you're going to do with it. I wanted to say, and just finish on this one point.
Sure.
When you look at the mirror, accept who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think that's the part that makes it so difficult for people to want to look in the mirror. And that's not just from a physiological perspective, but that's also from a spiritual and from every one of the 8 areas that we look at. But I think it's important to love the good, the bad, and the ugly of yourself, of where you are, of what's happening around, and use that to fire and to feed you, creating the new picture of the new you, so that you're constantly looking ahead and moving forward in that direction. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Marvin. I love these analogies that we're using here, from the mirror to the list, and really great. I just want to pick on a few of the comments that are coming through. Tanya Hobson says, who am I? Is a question that we ask ourselves every day. When looking at our reflection, we stand in our truth. Marvin, you were mentioning that. It is the truth that sets us free. Reflect and acknowledge who you are. So just, another confirmation of what you've just said. And yeah, thanks for that comment, Tanya. Very, very well said. Okay, let's move on. Heather spoke of awareness, right? So again, this analogy of waking up and then suddenly becoming aware of where you're at and what you're about and influencing others around you. And then she said, well, that's all fine, but then we need to like now take some action. And I guess this is where Map for Life comes in, as Amelia and you all have said, is that we then have a practical tool to say, I've now come to this awareness, I've woken up, and I need to take action. And this is where Map for Life as a methodology really comes to the fore. She also mentioned then, I think in terms of priority, what is that one thing that we want to do? Okay. And I'm going to ask the panel as well. If I awake, as Heather suggested, and I understand that I need to do stuff, and I have 10 things that I believe I need to do, how do I select which one I really must start with and focus on? How do I go about that process of prioritizing my actions? Ngwati, I'm going to start with you. So it's around prioritization and how do I take action? How do I choose the one that's going to have the most impact?
Thanks, Terence. I think what is important when it comes to a stage where you are aware the position where you are, as I think it's one of the guidelines in terms of the Map for Life tool, because you must establish your position where you are.
Okay.
I think it's very important, so that now from that position you will be able now to see how much do you need in order to move forward from the position where you are. It could be a position of where you feel that you have not succeeded in what you have planned to do. It could be a position where you find that the success according to your standard you have achieved, it's not the required standard in terms of the standard you have set, I think, for you. So now from there onwards, in order for you to move forward, we have to ask you certain questions in order to prioritize, instead of doing having too many fires, irons in the fire, so that you can focus yourself. Because at the end of the day, as I think the discussion was saying, that it's important to know that now from here moving forward, this is what I would like to see in order for me to achieve that particular success by using the tool we are already having, because it's going to ask what destination are you moving towards, or what is your position as it is currently now, and all that. So that's how I say. So in order for you to prioritize, I say you need to have a list of questions which now will give you that, okay, fine, in order for me to move away, for instance, let's take an example. For instance, I find that when for instance, I grew up, I always tell that I grew up in a boxed life. Boxed life in the sense that you find that when we grew up, we couldn't touch anything because we're going to break it. Anything we were going to break. So I ended up, I think, when I was busy doing my my Map for Life, I think doing my action plan for Map for Life, and then I said that one of the things I need to do is to try and outbox me to get out of the mode where my parents in Auschwitz, that's the only way they knew. So they had to guide me by keeping me in touch by saying that, okay, fine, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, which is, I called it a box life. So now it took me some time to outbox that. And now it has helped me because now I've got a better relationship with my kids, better relationship with my grandchildren.
Excellent, Morty. Thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, you've pointed back to the Map for Life methodology, and where we should start. That gives us focus. Can I read another comment here from the audience? And this is from Zaipuna. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Zaipuna Yona. And Zaipuna says, looking at a mirror without focus is like flying over a forest with a helicopter and thinking you can figure out the type of trees in the forest. Okay. And I think he's put it extremely well there, because all you'd see is a blanket of green. You know it's trees, but you can't figure out exactly what trees are. Thanks, Mr. Yona, for that comment. I think it's very very apt at this point. Okay. Heather also spoke about, and she asked the question, and I'm reaching the end of the discussion. She's asked the question, whose validation are we seeking? Okay. And I do believe that's a fairly deep question, but I do believe each of us need to, at some point in time, answer, because we are influenced by the world, and we may well be seeking the world's validation from the world. There's so many different influences. So let me just put the question out there. How do you determine whose validation you are seeking? What are the guidelines? In understanding whose validation am I seeking? Am I seeking my own validation? Am I seeking validation from out there? Let me just throw the discussion open. Amelia?
I think often we overthink things, and often we know, deep down we know. But because we overthink things and we depend so much on too much external input that you get confused about, what is it that's really, really important. At the end of the day, I would summarize that and say, trust your gut feel. You know what you know. In the light of everything, your values, the things that are important in your life, you know what those things are. Just trust your gut feel and just go with that. At the end of the day, you only really need to know that you live with yourself, and you need to live with your conscience, and you need to know that you are living life to the fullest and pursuing your purpose. And I think if we can focus only on that, that's the only thing that is really important at the end.
Thanks, Amelia. I love it. Yeah, we do overcomplicate things, right? And we want to get down to the detail. I love that. Go with your gut. Your gut is normally always right. Marvin, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's a great question in terms of whose validation are you seeking. In our map cafe that we had, I also challenged the team. Where Heather said we should write things down. I said, every time you have a thought that's stopping you from doing something, write that thought down, and then map it back to who said that, who was it? Because whoever that was is the person that's the validation that you're looking or you're seeking. And then you got to weigh up, but let's have a look at that person. Is that person somebody that you should be giving the time, energy, focus to listen to or not? And if yes, then okay, great. If not, then let's find a way just to silence that voice, and then look at the next voice, and then look at the next voice. I think there's so many self-limiting beliefs that we have that stops us from taking that first step, or stops us from proceeding with after we've taken the first step. And for me, what's worked personally is writing down what that voice is saying. After writing what it's saying, map it back to who. Who was it that actually said it? It could have been a video you watched. It could have been a television. It could have been a message that you listened to. Could be your friends. But that in itself is good feedback for you to see what that source is, and then use that to define, is that the right sort of voice to listen to? And if not, then at least we know. In terms of figuring out how do you know this is you or not you, I would always suggest look at, and I think it also ties back into the prioritization side, the question that you had asked. Start with doing something that's easy, that's simple, that you can do, that you know you can do, that doesn't require a lot of thinking, doesn't require a lot of resources, but something that you are able to do quickly and easily, because that will create the momentum that you need to take the next step and the next step and the next step. When it's an easy task to do, those voices and those validations don't matter. Then it's easy to just go complete the task and then look out for the next one. Other areas that I would suggest is also make sure that you really know you. So by writing stuff down that you've listened to, that's kind of influencing your decision, you can ask the question, is that really you or is that somebody else? And if it is you, then you'll know, because you'll have this peace, you'll have that unction. I think Amelia had mentioned that gut feel. But also, when you know you are kind of in the zone, when you are doing the things that you should be doing, that you want to be doing, it just comes naturally. It's something that doesn't require an effort. It's something that you find the time for, something that you want to tell people about without any needing for motivation, because that is you. When those things that are easy for you to do without thinking, without effort, without worrying about money and time, that's your guideline to say that's what you should be doing, because then that's you. If it wasn't you, you wouldn't be doing it.
Excellent. Thanks, Marvin. You've sort of knitted together a few key concepts in what you've just said. And if I can start from the end and paraphrase what you've said, is purpose, which Heather spoke about as well, comes naturally. And you're saying, if it comes naturally, then it must be in line with what you should be doing in any case. So go ahead and do it. The other one was, I guess you were saying, start with the familiar, start with the stuff that comes naturally, again, aligned to purpose. And then the other one, if the voices that you're hearing align and sit easy with you, source is right, etc., then go with it. Okay, I think that was absolutely great. Okay, we're coming to the end of it. I think just one thing I want to mention again, Heather stressed that don't go with the flow. Don't go with the flow. It's quite easy to go with the flow. At swimming upstream, that's the challenge, like the salmon do every year. That's a battle. Going downstream is easy. I just want to finish with the acronym and remind us and the viewers of the acronym that Heather used of wake up. She said the W stands for wellness, the A stands for awareness and action. The K stands for kindle. Kindle that fire within you. She used the analogy of the fire. I love the analogy of the fire. And I'm reminded here of a song, a hymn. It only takes a spark to set the fire going. That's all it takes. So kindle that, and let your spark spark. And let's be, E was for excited. The U is for unique, and the P is for purpose. I think it's an excellent way to end this discussion. I thank you, the panelists, for engaging. I thank you, the audience, for engaging, and the many comments that have come up. Thank you for being part of this. And let's go out there and be people of purpose, and let's be people of action. I thank you all.
Thank you.